Hey, Trojan Nation, welcome back to another interview with the coaches. I am joined by Alex Glover today, our head track throwing and multis coach. Super fun. You guys have had a really fun year so far.
Yeah.
Coach, I would love to hear about some of your athletes, some of our seniors, our returners, and then some of our, fresh blood that you've kind of seen come to the team this year. How have things been going so far for you guys this season?
Yeah, honestly, it's been great. I'm the type of person going on year 10 now. I've got super high expectations for the group, and so even though we did bring in a really big group of freshmen, I still have the expectation that with the upperclassmen leadership that we have, that those young kids are gonna pick things up early, and we're gonna keep rolling like we have been. Just to kind of talk about some of the upperclassmen, obviously, Trayshawn Roberts is number one in the country in the heptathlon right now in the NAI, which is awesome. He's a guy that came here for football initially, and then decided one spring after football season was done that he wanted to come out and throw a little bit. And after I saw that he had some athleticism to him, I was like, man, like you should really try doing the multis and see what we can do there. Because I want to say we looked one day on his athletic.net stuff, and he had done one multi one time in high school, just because I think.
Mm.
I don't know if a coach had said, "Hey, maybe I think you can try it and be good at it, whatever it might be." So we decided, like, man, let's do it and see how far we can go with it. And his first year doing it was solid. He had some potential for sure. I've been very fortunate that he's got a pretty solid background in throwing already. Makes my job really easy. But then as far as all the other stuff, I mean, he's progressed to the point now where he's getting pretty close to being a national qualifying hurdler, as well as a national qualifying pole vaulter. He hit the national qualifying standard in what was it, javelin last year. I think he's going to be close to it in discus as well. So just an all around kid that he's got a lot of different talents and is able to make things look really easy. He's the type of guy that, as a coach, me and Coach Hoggy will tell you it can be frustrating at times because he can joke his way through everything that he does, and you sit there and it's like, okay, time to take stuff seriously. But that's how he does stuff, and that's what helps him just be in the middle of a meet with all this pressure at the nationals, and stuff just doesn't phase him because he can laugh his way through it and keep things light. And the dude can make friends with anybody that he's competing against, and is rooting for his competition too, which is something you don't see out of everybody, which is cool. Um, Connor Tordzen's another guy who's a fifth year senior for me this year. Really fortunate to have him come back this year. He's a guy that I really appreciate coming back. Put a lot of faith in me. That him and I talked at the end of the year, like, man, I think if you come back and we do this thing right, like we can go win a national championship this year. And I really think he's got an opportunity to win a couple. If he's feeling really good at nationals, he's sitting number 4 in the country in weight throw right now. He also qualified in shot put, which is awesome. He came in as a freshman, not a super great shot putter, and has really turned himself into something. I think with this being his last year, he's really kind of flipped a switch in his head, like, man, let's go do this thing. I don't just want to be a weight thrower, hammer thrower, discus thrower. Like, let's be versatile and be a national qualifier and a bunch of stuff. Treya Hubbard is another one that she got injured towards last year, towards the end of last indoor season. She's a multiple time national qualifier and All American shot putter for us. Ended up tearing her ACL towards the end of indoor season. And
Mhm.
knew she had some unfinished business. Wanted to come back and get herself back healthy, and go try to be an All-American in a couple more events. She's been close to winning a national championship, and I think she wants to end on a high note. She's worked really hard rehabbing, and she's actually this week down at Mount Marty gonna make her 2023 debut. So I'm really excited about that. Jacob Yoakum's another one, just quickly to talk about. That's a national qualifier for me this year in weight throw. Has done a really nice job. Transferred from Concordia 3 years ago. Was the type of guy that I, for lack of better terms, I would say maybe fell out of the love of throwing. And I reached out when he had transferred, and I was like, hey man, like, why don't we give it a shot? You've got some talent. Like, let's, if it's something that you're interested in doing, like, I'd be happy to coach you. And man, has done a really nice job. Has progressed really well over the last few years, and has really turned himself into a heck of a thrower. He's a guy that, although we qualified in weight throw indoor season, I'm really looking forward to getting him outdoor and throwing hammer, because he's a guy that I think could potentially be an All-American hammer thrower this year. Um, To talk about some of my younger kids, got some sophomores that are doing a great job. Zach Haugen's a kid from Aberdeen who came in as a walk-on and has really turned himself into something. He was a like mid 11-meter weight thrower this last year as a freshman. Just pretty tall, skinny kid, really nice discus thrower, but tall, skinny kid that weight would toss him around. And now has added some weight, added some strength, and has already increased his PR and weight throw by over 3 meters. Houston Lundy's another one who has added a lot of distance to both of his events. Gabby Peitzmeyer's another one who, as a freshman, was solid, but has increased her PRs in both shot put and weight throw a lot. She's a super hard worker, somebody I really enjoy working with, somebody that has aspirations to be a coach afterwards, after college. And so somebody that's a real student of the game and somebody that helps me out. I, at the Mankato meet a couple weeks ago, when she wasn't throwing, was standing right beside me talking. Okay, so what happened here? What did he do? This? Did he do that? And is somebody that really cares and wants to be a coach. So those are the type of kids that are really easy to coach. Talking about some of my freshmen, I apologize to the ones that I won't mention. I've got a huge crop of them. We brought in like 15 new freshmen this year. So to talk about a few right now, Bella Maxwell from Madison has had a great start to her season. Has thrown over 14 meters in weight throw and has thrown like 3 feet past her high school PR in shot put already, just learning to become a rotational shot putter. Olivia Thornton from Garrettson, South Dakota, has done done a nice job as well. She is another one that's thrown over 14 meters. Kiana Munga from Aberdeen Central is somebody that still figuring out shot put, but has done a really nice job in weight throw. She's somebody that I think is going to be a really, really strong hammer thrower once we get outdoors. Lexi Olson from Aberdeen as well has done a really good job too. In general, I think a lot of the girls tend to kind of progress a little sooner just for the fact that the weights don't change at all from high school to college in the women's implements. And so I think a lot of them pick up shot put a little sooner and pick up weight throw a little sooner just because the women's weight is 20 pounds compared to the men's that's 35. And as a freshman, if you don't have that good base layer of strength or good base layer of technique, that thing can toss you around. So I do have some guys that are doing a really nice job. Dylan Johansson, one from Freeman Academy, that's done a really nice job for me so far. TJ Moran, gosh, there's a lot to mention that have done a really, really solid job for me that I've been really happy with. It's an interesting dynamic because I have a lot of freshmen and then I have a lot of upperclassmen. There's really not that in between. And so I will say my upperclassmen have done a fantastic job trying to bridge that gap and be really good leaders. But I think, it's a bunch of people that have spent a lot of time together and kind of have their clique and their group. And so then there's that group of freshmen as well. And they're trying to kind of bring everybody together and be that solid team. And it's nice. I've said for a long time as a coach that I haven't really ever had to say discipline kids or really get after kids that much because my upperclassmen know the standard. They know the culture within the group, that standard that they has spent 3-4 years trying to build. They want to keep that, and they don't want anybody to come into the program and mess that up. So they're going to keep people in line, and in turn has helped the freshmen progress really early on, just because they know, okay, what my coach is telling me in that first meeting of the year is that I got to work so I can make a contribution to the program, and so they learn early on that it's go time and we're going to work. Believe me, we have a big speaker at practice. Like, we're jamming out, we're having a good time, we're joking around, like, because that's what I love. I spend a lot of my day practicing, and so I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I don't want to just sit there for 5 hours a day being bored. So we have a great time. But when it's time to be serious, we're serious, and we practice and we work hard and work on the little details so we get stuff right. And I do my best to try to film pretty much every throw in practice so we can get those little details and fix that stuff really quickly. And I think that has really kind of streamlined the process for teaching technique to the freshmen and has been really good so far.
For sure. Well, Coach, this is a great breakdown so far. It's nice to hear about your team and how your athletes have been doing throughout the season. What's coming up for you guys next. Now, you mentioned Mount Marty just a little while ago, and now Mount Marty is kind of a last chance meet. A lot of Dakota State's throwers are going to this meet. So, what are your guys' goals in mind? With nationals around the corner, what are your guys' goals at that meet?
Yeah, so just to kind of talk about, we're breaking up the team where part of the all the runners, jumpers, vaulters are going up to SDSU this week. The really really big SDSU meet. There's something like 40 teams at it, and then we're bringing the throwers down to Mount Marty. My belief is, with conference being next week and me having a lot of underclassmen, I, don't get me wrong, I'm all about competing, and we spend a lot of our season competing against Division I kids, Division II kids, and we need to be able to do that. But at the same time, with conference coming up next week, I want some of my younger kids to be at a smaller meet so they can potentially make finals and get 6 throws, just because that experience is invaluable. And so I want to do everything I can to late in the season here. We went to Dakota Wesleyan last week and was a smaller meet. And so, like, for example, for men's weight, I was able to get 5 guys into finals for that, and get some underclassmen in finals that don't maybe typically get into finals in a normal regular season meet, but would at conference. They've thrown far enough to where there's somebody that could potentially make finals. And so that's really kind of the thought process behind it. Just wanting to go to a little bit smaller meet, a little lower pressure meet, I would say, so freshmen feel good just putting everything out there and competing and trying to bust out a good throw. Kind of the way the things work in our conference is we're only able to enter our top 6 people in an event, in any given event. And with us having as much depth as we do, we've got 32 throwers on the team this year. There's going to just naturally going to be some people that end up getting left out. So this is really kind of the last dress rehearsal for, like, hey guys, like, if you want to be in the 6 in an event, like, you got to do it here. You got to make sure that you put yourself in position to do that. Track is pretty cut and dry, where there's really not a lot of variables on who I end up picking to be in the top 6. It's my job to set us up to try to win conference championships as a team, and so when I go on and I see who my top 6 kids are that have thrown the furthest, that's typically going to be the kids that I end up picking. And so that's really it. It's just trying to put everything out there and get it a smaller meet where some kids that don't make finals have a better opportunity to make finals, and give them 3 more throws to go bust out a big one.
For sure. Well, that's certainly a great update, Coach. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us this update, giving us this breakdown on your team. It's great to hear about the throwers and track. Track is just massive.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of different events. And so it's nice to be able to just break down one section of it with you and really hear about these athletes, that are competing for us here at Dakota State. So thank you again for coming in, giving us this breakdown, and I'm hoping that we can get you back in here sometime again.
Absolutely,
soon and
that's what I'm saying.
Another
Like,
one.
we just got to do a weekly thing here. Like, you and I, Maddie and Glover, we can have a radio show, whatever it is. I don't care. Weekly thing. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it.